Hello, Keith Savage here to welcome you to my Christmas Town themed Hangman's Alley. I recently took a cross country flight that wound up here totally by accident. No kidding. Before I show you how all that began, let me just show you what it looks like now because unfortunately the game crashed and all of this never happened. Hangman's Alley is my little town that loves to keep Christmas all year round, mainly because I don't like to take decorations down. Anyway, it was the first Christmas themed settlement I did after getting the Christmas holiday special add-on. See if you can spot the Grognak poster. I did a lot of good stuff with the wall up there. Has all the shutters and windows, great spots for putting posters up. And it looks like Santa had an accident. Needs some more sleigh practice. Yes, my cross-country flight did not end so well.
Hope you ain't one of them synths here to spy on me.
No, ma'am, I'm not a synth. I just play one in a video game. As I said, sadly, the game crashed and I didn't get a chance to do much with it other than get some video. Let me take you back to how it all began, and I'll explain a few things about what I learned during this epic cross-country trip. First of all, how you position this pistol is very, very crucial. It has to be a certain distance out from you. Too much distance and you're going to fall off the back end. Read these handy gauges to determine both your positioning and flight stability. I've been using the compass line and the hidden indicator as rough gauges to tell me when things are going wrong. And as you can see, it's reading off balance. But we're going to risk it this flight. Now the pistol is going to do some funny glitchy things like slide off to the side and disappear, but it's still there underneath the batwing symbol at the back of the car top. And if I stop and wait a minute, the pistol will have time to reset and appear back there. But as you can see, it's dangling from that point. It basically acts like a magic sky hook that you dangle something from. And this something happens to be big enough for me to stand on. It's a bizarre and glitchy technique, but for the most part, it works once you get the particulars down. In fact, I made most of the cross-country trip like this, but I've got to edit it down because it's 48 minutes and that's just too much. Also, don't find out the hard way like I did that these wires are not entirely non-physical. They can knock you right out of the sky if they pass through the body of the vehicle or hit the pistol, and those posts will definitely knock you right out of the sky. We're hovering at about 50 feet. Our shadow is following us off to the port side, and also to port there is a pink picker-upper truck you can use to fly with. We took off from an impromptu runway north of the Electrical Hobbyists Club, and we're headed northeast, but I'm about to use some cinematic magic to shorten our trip a little. I hope you enjoy. And now we have traveled almost to Boston. There in front, coming out of hyperspace is always rough. But look at that, it righted us. Now we're level. You see how the horizon compass line is level with the back of the shattered windshield. And the hidden marker is just above the nose of the car. And the pistol, of course, is hanging directly beneath the batwing rust mark. Oh, did you see what just happened? We just crossed a boundary and it loaded a whole bunch of textures. If you scroll back and look, you will see that on the starboard side, we suddenly have water down there in the canal. subway tunnel, whatever. You'll see when it loads textures, it almost always causes the car to buck. Keep an eye on your buckometer. If it starts bucking too much, you want to stop and wait, because if the car bucks too much, you're going to buck off. And believe me, at this distance from the ground, the last thing you want is to buck off. But don't worry, it will happen eventually. Yeah, you're going to buck around and find out. Seriously, you'll see that when textures load, it causes turbulence. You just got to be ready for it. Despite all the glitchiness and instability, this technique really does work. It's slow, it's like piloting a blimp, but it does work, especially when you get the particulars right, all the little rules that apparently govern its operation. Specifically, you really have to have the pistol in the right position, both front and back and side to side. I think I'm going to do a short tutorial on just that. Here at 1,200 feet, we're basically diving into Chestnut Hillock Reservoir, which is a good place to mention that the pistol will also make warning clicks. Listen out for them. After which, the pistol will suddenly glitch out. This is basically a case of where you stop and wait until your heart stops fluttering and the pistol pops back into the right position. Also, occasionally I experience the video capture glitch in which 4 or 5 frames are lost, they're never captured, and there's no way I can edit around that. You're going to both see and hear a gap. I wanted to forewarn you because later on you're going to see instances of both these types of glitches. Here you can see I'm aiming rather steeply downwards towards Chestnut Hillock Reservoir, hoping that if I fall into the water. I'm aiming downwards steeply because in the edited out portion of the video, I had managed to reach quite an altitude, maybe 8,000-9,000 feet, and it takes a long time to come down from that far up. So, but the problem is you can't aim downward too steeply or, well, bad things happen. I would strongly caution you against trying to turn while aiming downward steeply. Go forward only.
Now, Wynonie, I was by your house last night, and guess what happened? What off on your grandma was landing up. Well, you just find that out? We found out. Yes, we did. We found out. Now we know. We found out. We found out that grandma played the numbers. We found out. Yes, we did.
Again, I just want to re-emphasize the basics. Don't go too fast. Don't dive too steep. Don't try to climb too fast. Don't push on your pistol too hard. And definitely don't back up. And if the pistol moves out of position, stop and wait for it to pop back into place before you keep going.
We found out. Yes, we know. We found out. Bless her soul. We found out. Now we know that grandma played the numbers.
Here you see I managed to make a slight turn to port at the cost of a little instability. Now see there, textures are loading. Let's watch that again.
In slow motion.
We found out. Yes, we know. We found out. Bless her soul. We found
And you see the car is bucking. This is the turbulence caused by having the world suddenly re-res around you.
Yes, oh yes. We found out. We
This is a good place to mention that sometimes the pistol seems to get stuck. It won't let you move, you're walking, but it won't let you progress. All you need to do is just stop, pull back slightly on the pistol without backing up, and after a second or two, it should let you progress again. Basically, at this point, I pretty much decided where I wanted to land would be the easiest place to try to land, and I wanted to land on one of the rooftops. But I had to angle it very steeply to get where I was going. At this point, I still had far too great an altitude and not enough lateral distance to get down to that level. So I was taking a risk, and it paid off. If I hadn't, I would have passed over the settlement at about 800 feet. Whoa, did you see that? See, more textures are loading.
Let's hope his grandma got the help she needed.
Yep, you hear that? It's loading the super mutants down there. At this point, it's when I realized how dangerous this was getting. Because basically you're holding your car up with the tip of your pistol, and your tip slipping out, that's never a good thing. Here's where I really tried to test the limits of how steep I could go without dropping out. And you'll see, it didn't exactly happen when I expected it to. Let's put it like that. There was some more textures loading. Lots of times when a place is lit up, you'll see the light suddenly come on. And that happened in the Corvega video as well. And it was reviewing a lot of this raw footage and watching old videos that I realized that this has been happening all along. I just wasn't paying enough attention. And when I got close enough to a new area where it would have to res more detailed textures, the skyhook effect would be jarred, and the car would sway and dangle, and you would occasionally be bucked loose. It's a really interesting effect when you are bucked loose. It seems that the back end that you're sitting on has suddenly jumped up above you, and now you're below it, and well, it knocks you on further down. In this case, I'm on a very steep downward incline. But let's make it a little steeper, shall we? Really test the limits of how steep we can go. Seeing the settlement open up like this in front of you makes me wonder how many people have actually seen Fallout from this viewpoint. I mean, jetpacks notwithstanding, you don't typically hover in place for very long with them. With this technique, you can both hover and move in relative silence, which leads to some creative stealth possibility. I want to point out that I did have to speed up some of this video a little bit, but mostly everything happens in real time. I wanted to try to turn to starboard just a bit so I could park on the rooftop above the settlement. And it res some more textures there. That might have been why this happened. A single shot and my legs are okay. I can jump down rooftops. And there you have it, folks. I flew all the way from north of the Electrical Hobbyists Club to Hangman's Alley. only to crash. Like I said at the beginning, my Santa really needs some sleigh practice. I do like how it fell on my power lines, and it gives the impression that Santa was towing a big red sleigh full of toys. Maybe you could see it better in some of the other clips. I sincerely hope I taught you a few tips. Thank you all for watching, and I really appreciate all your support. Have a good night. This is Keith Savage, Fallout Aeronaut, signing off.